I always had a entrepreneurial mindset. At 12 years old, I sold stuff on Craigslist that I didn't use anymore.
Like, yeah, dude, this is a good deal. This is the reason why you should do this.
It's an awesome experience, and you guys are just as personable in person as you guys are behind the mic.
Well, there's always the next goal to chase, right? So if you can appreciate how far you've come.
I've reached out to people before, like flippers, like, hey, can I work alongside you? You don't have to pay me nothing. Like, I just want to get the experience, and nothing ever worked out.
You know, when you find people who do what they say and who they are portrayed as, I feel like you kind of latch onto those people. And like,
you could be in real estate with laundromats too. You can own the building and have the business inside the building, you know?
Jake, officially welcome to the WealthJuice podcast. Corey and I are stoked to have you on the show, man. We have known you for a while now. You are currently going through our program in the WealthJuice Inner Circle, so our mentorship program. You're absolutely killing it. You reached your first deal at lightning speed compared to a lot of people. And so nonetheless, dude, we want to share your story today with our listeners, and we are stoked to have you on the show.
I'm pumped, guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, dude. So take us back to the beginning. I want to talk about who you are, where you're from, what you do for your W-2, and then we'll transition when the light bulb went off in your head to say, whoa, you know, I think real estate could be a thing for me. I want to start dabbling to this on the side.
Yeah, of course. I'm Jake Yost. I'm from South Jersey, and I do have a W-2 job, like you mentioned. It is in law enforcement, and then I also have a fence installation company, and of course, you know, recently got into real estate.
Awesome, man. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about the light bulb moment when it went off for you, and you're like, "Whoa, I'm in law enforcement. I have the fencing company." So you're an entrepreneur. You're kind of double dipping, doing two different things. You got the salary, then you got your side hustle, right? Then on top of that, you decided at one point you wanted to sprinkle in some real estate. So talk to us about that journey, when it went off in your head, and then how you decided to take action.
Yeah, of course. For me, there wasn't really a light bulb moment, like one specific thing that sticks out for me that drew me to real estate. But I always had a entrepreneurial mindset. At 12 years old, I sold stuff on Craigslist that I didn't use anymore. And then that kind of rolled into a landscaping company that I started at 17. I did eventually sell that off, but I remember sitting on the mower cutting grass, and I would have my headphones on, listening to podcasts, audiobooks, and learn as much as I can. And, you know, you do learn great lessons from the audiobooks and the podcasts, but the real lessons aren't taught or learned until you take action.
Yeah, man, I could not agree more. I think you were actually one of the first people to join the community, and you showed us very quickly. You were like, you were ready to go. You were ready to take action. I feel like the thing that was missing for you was like that extra push. You're like, you actually knew kind of how to analyze deals. You knew like how the real estate world worked, but like just not having that community of people around you that were like, yeah, dude, this is a good deal. This is the reason why you should do this. This is how, you know, from people who are a couple steps ahead of you, this is kind of how it works. So I'm curious about like your mindset going into it. Did you have anything that you were nervous about? Like, I guess what I'm trying to get at is like, what was the thing that pushed you over the edge? Because I know you've been thinking about it for a while, to actually go and take action, even though you knew it was the right thing in the back of your mind.
Yeah, of course. This is like 7 years coming. So I definitely had fears. You know, who doesn't? Just with anything new, you're always going to have those fears in the back of your mind. And you're going to have a million things running through your head. You know, the what ifs. You know, what if the market crashes? What if you have terrible tenants? They destroy the place. You know, you have to evict them. There's a million things. But, you know, the what ifs are honestly dream killers. You just have to attack. And, you know, the faster you move, I feel like the better off you are in a sense. You know, you do have to take your time and think about things, but you don't want to wait too long and miss your opportunity.
Without a doubt, man. I think you had this mindset of like, first of all, you're really busy. You're working in law enforcement. You have the fencing company. You want to get involved in real estate investing, and real estate investing is like this vehicle to pursue financial freedom. I think I'm curious about how you were able to mentally like balance the three things that you're trying to pursue at the same time, right? You know, your hours in law enforcement are all over the place. They're like, some days you're working 12-hour shifts, the other days, you might have off. Like the balancing of that with the fencing company, with the real estate, like how were you able to compartmentalize and realize like, okay, in order for me to get ahead, I got to do all these things. Like, I don't know if you have any takes there on how you were able to piece this together.
Yeah, so juggling all three things definitely taught me to delegate a little bit and block scheduling and really have everything laid out, day by day. You can't really just randomly wake up and say, "Oh, I'm going to do this today." Your day really has to be scheduled out. Like you mentioned, I do work 12-hour shifts with law enforcement, so that works out to be working about like half the month. So I do get about like 15 days off a month to allow me to do, the fencing and real estate. Yeah, it really just comes down to scheduling and delegating tasks that maybe aren't really worth your time to do.
Jake, thanks for that, man. I want to get into kind of the next step for you, right? So catching everybody up here, right? Law enforcement, you got the fencing company, you're interested in real estate. On the back end, you're studying it, right? You're learning how to analyze deals. You're basically spending the only waking hours that you have and the little bit of free time that you have on the side to study it, to read the books, to listen to podcasts. But at some point you hit a roadblock. You're like, okay, I understand that I have all this information in my head, but how do I go take action into this? And so I think that brought us to the impasse where, like, how did you find us, right? So from now, I think I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but I think at this point, this is where we landed, where you had all the information, you knew it was time to take action. Then it seemed like you were going out and vetting people to work with or try to expedite the process for you. So talk to us through that part of your journey and what you did next.
Yeah, like you guys mentioned on the podcast and social media a bunch of times, you get stuck in analysis paralysis. And that's where I was at. I was looking at deals, just wasn't pulling the trigger and taking action. And I've followed you guys on social media and the podcast for probably 3-4 years. And I saw you guys were putting out the coaching program. I reached out to people before, like flippers, like, hey, can I work alongside you? You don't have to pay me nothing. Like, I just want to get the experience, and nothing ever worked out. So, when I saw this opportunity, it was something I honestly couldn't pass up. I listened to you guys speak on the podcast, almost felt like connected to you guys already. And you guys being local to me helped a lot. And yeah, it was just the opportunity I couldn't pass up. I had to jump on, and it definitely paid itself tenfold.
Dude, that means a lot. We appreciate it. I want to talk about some of the biggest like takeaways or aha moments that you had from joining and like why you felt it was beneficial for you. We're going to get into the deal. I want to talk about the actual South Jersey duplex that you bought. I know this game does not come without hiccups, right? Like that, I think, is the expectations. Like, you have bumps, you have bruises, but you keep moving the ball down the field, you keep moving forward, and things really you zoom out, they end up working out. But before we talk about the deal, just talk to us about some of the takeaways, some of the aha moments, or like what opened your eyes about the community, and how do you feel like we've been able to help you along and like I said, move everything forward.
Yeah, I think it was just having other people in the community that are in the same situation as you, and watching them also, tackle their first deal, and having you guys to lean on, ask questions. It definitely helps tremendously. And having, other people, there are other people in the group that have, 20 deals, 10 deals that are ahead of you that you can lean on, ask, fire off some questions to them. And, everyone's definitely open arms and willing to answer your questions and help however they can. Yeah, I mean, it's just a great experience. And, I'm more than happy that I joined and finally jumped into this whole real estate journey.
Dude, I want to ask you something. First of all, thank you. I think it's awesome. We love having you in the community. And I think, for me, when I first got into, essentially paying for mentorship and like getting into rooms with other people who are doing the things that I wanted to do, I found that like the built-in accountability was awesome. Like I know I had to show up to the calls once a week, had to do the homework in the back end. And the only way to actually move forward, you can continue consuming the information, but to be able to show up and be like, hey guys, like you said to do this and I did it, that's actually what inches you forward. There's people now in any community, right, that'll just continue. They'll be the silent lurkers again. And it's really, I'm proud of you because you, from day one, you came in, we said, hey, do this. And immediately you took action. We said, go make this call, introduce yourself to this person. You went and did it. And you were the first person to get their deal. You were the fastest to your first deal. I wanted to, before we get into actually the deal process, I just wanted to ask about this because this is so, we never asked you this. And I want you to give your honest answer. I want to talk about like why us specifically, right? Because there's so many people out there teaching this stuff and you could jump into a million different communities. I know you listened to us for a long time, but like A, why us? And then B, were we the people that you thought we were from listening to the podcast and like them getting to know us? Because I know we've talked a lot, but I'm just so curious on how people think and like if we are actually, the people behind the mics, if you will.
Yeah, like, are we cool or not?
Yeah, you guys are definitely the same people that you are behind the mics. The same energies here in person, one-on-one, face-to-face. And I never really experienced listening to somebody for multiple years, 3-4 years, and then finally being able to meet them. It's an awesome experience, and you guys are just as personable in person as you guys are behind the mic.
All right, that's good to know. I'm glad. I feel like hopefully it didn't feel like we were holding you hostage. Like we don't have a gun to your head on that one, but I appreciate it because I think it's a little bit difficult on the internet to find the right people who kind of do the things they say they're going to do. And I found that difficult on my end too. Like Ryan and I have joined a bunch of mentorship programs. And I think obviously it comes down to gut feeling, but when you find people who do what they say and who they are portrayed as, I feel like you kind of latch onto those people and like, dude, like you're in our circle now. It's not just like the WealthJuice Inner Circle, like this online community. Like I truly feel like it makes Ryan and I feel good to like mentor somebody who's like just a couple steps behind us, who has seen success, who when we say, Jake, you got to go do this because this is the thing that's going to get you the next level. And then you come back the next week and you're like, hey guys, I did this. Now I have this problem. And we're like, okay, knew that was going to happen, but didn't want to tell you about that problem before you ran into it. Now here's what you do. And I think that's like kind of the cycle of what happens in the real estate game is that you need help with the mindset in between your ears. You need help developing the strategy. You need help building the team. And at each of those stages, you're like, okay, now I have this problem. Now this thing comes up. What do I do here? And people tell me all the time, well, guys, some of the information that you guys are saying is all out there for people to find on the internet or find and read books about. And my response to them is typically, you're 100% right. You can go do this on your own, but are you going to get real-time feedback from the author of those books? And that is the thing I think that separates it. Like, I did this. Now I can ask the author of the book the question on what next step to take. And dude, you've done it every single step of the way. So I don't want to this isn't really as much about us as just like, we're not buying the property for you. You're going and doing the work. We're just giving you that overarching angel devil type of guidance. And you've ran with it and you're already talking about your next deal. And you've only been with us for 6 months. So I think it's awesome. I want to talk about that deal though. The duplex, obviously, you don't have to share all the details, but just give us like the location, the purchase price, and then what that property is projected to cash flow, how you found it. Give us some background details on that.
Yeah, so the property's in Berlin Township, which is in South Jersey. And I did find it rather quickly. It was probably my third or fourth deal or property that I saw in person, but I ran dozens, the numbers on dozens of properties just to deal analysis. You have to do it over and over again, and that's how you learn. And this property is a duplex, so I did take advantage of house hacking. And anybody that's starting out, I think it is a great opportunity, and definitely take advantage of it if your lifestyle allows you to. And so I did a conventional loan, 5% down. I purchased it for $265. So all in with closing costs and down payment, I was maybe like 20,000 in, and then I rehabbed the upstairs unit, which I'm living in, and then I did inherit the downstairs tenant, which definitely had some hiccups and was a journey in itself.
Yeah, I actually want to highlight that. So some of the synergy that we were talking about, like I saw myself, like younger self in you a little bit, is because I bought a duplex, the same type of property, a 1-1 and a 2-1. So 1 bed, 1 bath, and a 2 bed, 1 bath. And I inherited tenants. This was my second property, so I didn't live there. It wasn't house hacking, but I inherited these tenants, and it came with all types of its unique issues, right? And you and I went through the process of, okay, well, he was basically on like a handshake agreement lease before. There was no structure. So we helped you kind of put in place, okay, this is how you're going to manage everything online. You're going to get him to sign a year lease. This is the price point that I think it makes sense for him to sign a year lease. And it went back and forth. And there were some issues like he wasn't going to sign, then he was going to sign. And then you kind of made an agreement like, all right, I'm going to redo this bathroom for you in the springtime. But just talk to us about some of the challenges that you did have and like maybe how you were able to overcome them with getting somebody who seems like to be a decent tenant, but like getting them on the track to know like, all right, well, no pun intended, there's kind of a new sheriff in town. Like this isn't going to be like me running to collect cash from you every week. Like this is how this thing has to go. And you kind of train along the way. So just give us some context there.
Yeah, my hurdles pretty much started immediately. It was closing day, and my brother calls me, and he's like, "Yeah, there's still a cat in because the upstairs unit vacated, and there was still a cat in the unit. So we had to figure out how to get the cat out. So that was a first day. I don't even have the property under yet, and I'm already dealing with issues. And then of course the downstairs tenant was still staying in the property. So I inherited him, like you mentioned. It was really just a handshake deal. He originally had a lease. He's been there for 5 to 6 years and just never renewed it. So it's basically just a month to month. And there was no structure there. It was very he wasn't paying market value for the property either. So I came in, I did raise rent a little bit, which he of course wasn't happy about. But I did, we came to an agreement that I would redo the bathroom if rents went up to they're currently at 1,700, and he before was paying 1,350. So it is a bit of an increase, but he also made out with getting a new bathroom, and it all worked out. It did go on for probably 2 months. There was some yelling, and it definitely wasn't perfect. It wasn't pretty, but it all worked out in the end. And you guys were always there for any question that I had, any referrals for somebody else that I needed that maybe you guys didn't have the answer to. But yeah, it was a journey.
It always is, man. I think people get into real estate and they think that it's going to be like this escape of their job, and they're going to be like, in a couple of years sitting on a beach, like not thinking about the real estate that they built. But you went in with the mindset like, no, this is a passive income wealth building journey. Like I have to set the foundation, and the fruits of my labor are going to come in the years down the line. I think that was the what we kind of wanted to implant. Like, dude, there's going to be issues. That's the game. That's why most people don't buy real estate. Like that's why the people that are listening to this podcast are already ahead of the game because they're thinking about doing it or they're doing it and they know that it comes with problems. But the way you get paid is in direct proportion to the problems that you solve. So if you solve big problems, you get big paychecks. And I think you've started to realize that. My question for you now is like, how did the first deal that you've done kind of change that mindset about real estate? Did it impact it? And then what are your next goals? Because I know we've been talking about kind of expanding, and obviously the bigger you get, the more you're able to streamline. So just talk to us about the mindset shift that the first deal had, and then maybe what your next goals are as we come up on mid 2025 here.
Yeah. So the first deal, it wasn't harder than I thought it'd be, but it definitely was still a struggle. And I definitely want to buy a second property. When it will be, I don't know. I'm still trying to get this one, settled out and everything kind of situated. That way, when I buy my second one, I'm not still dealing with the first one and problems with the first one. At this stage in my life, I'm still deciding whether I want to buy a second property right now, or possibly maybe like buy another business. Laundromats always were interested in me, just like real estate. And that, that can kind of, you could be in real estate with laundromats too. You can own the building and have the business inside the building. So there's definitely a couple different options that I'm weighing out, and we'll see where it takes me.
Love it, dude. Well, I just want to say, thanks for being here on the show. Thanks for sharing your story. But overall, you were one of the quickest guys to get to their first deal. And I don't mean it's a rush, but to come into a community, I think the important piece to notice, and this is just for people that are vetting out a community or trying to get help to get to the next level. You came in like a bull in a china shop in a good way, meaning, anytime we asked you to do something, you did it. Anytime you had a question, you asked it, and you just didn't sit in the background. There's, office hours we have for an hour on one day throughout the week. You would show up to the office hours. You'd ask your questions. You weren't afraid who else was in the room. You're like, this is what I'm dealing with this week. Let's attack it. And you built out your checklist and you just took it down. We have all the SOPs and the downloadables and things like that for you to have, right? But to get to the next level, it's actually going and implementing those. I remember we set you up with a realtor. You went and looked at a bunch of properties. I think it was the first week. You started analyzing them. We made even more. We made creative offers on them. Then we had to negotiate. Then you had to get the cat out. Then there was certain things that went wrong in the property in the beginning. You fixed them. You started using your hands, right? Instead of hiring out, you saved a little bit of dough. You're house hacking. You lived in one unit. You rented out the other. You're doing all the things that you read about and that we all talk about all the time. But just to have a real life case study of someone that is where Corey and I were a couple of years back, it's really awesome to see. And I feel like we're just living our lives again in that journey. And I'm just proud of how far you've come. You are an entrepreneur. You got the W-2. You're proving that this is all possible for everyone, right? And that's why we wanted to highlight this. I think a lot of people, they see stuff on the internet and they're like, well, that's not for me. Or like, I have too much going on. You have so much going on and you just made it work, dude. And now you're talking about your second property in less than 5 months or 6 months. We'll call it, we're right around the 6-month mark. For most people, they'd be like, wow, I thought it would take a year to get one. And you're talking about getting two in that 12 to 6 month cycle, which is awesome. And not that it's a rush, but you're tactfully doing it. And it all starts back to the beginning with making sure you're set up right with the correct loan package and making sure you're not biting off more than you can chew with too big of a property. And just, you're playing the game the right way. You're always showing up, you're asking the right questions. And I want to say thanks for joining us today, because you are a perfect testimonial to how this is possible for someone that's working their W-2 job, is extremely busy, and you just made no excuses. You showed up and you did it. So outside of that, I guess any final words of advice for someone that's thinking about real estate investing that might be potentially where you were? You were stuck in the beginning. They're not sure where to do next. They've tried all they can try by themselves and they're just not sure where to go.
Yeah, there's never really a perfect time. You just have to do it. Take the leap, jump off that cliff. You can't do everything yourself either. You have to lean on people sometimes. And, this group offers that. Any questions you have, come to Ryan, Corey, anybody else in the group. Somebody's going to have an answer for that question. And, like you said, I kind of am living proof that you can juggle W-2, a business, and real estate. It all is possible. You just have to want it. You have to want it enough. And the joy is in the journey.
Nice little mic drop there, dude. The joy is in the journey. I think for a young guy to realize that, and I say young guy, and I only mean in your investing journey and in your wealth journey, but for us, it took us a long time to get there. And we were like, we always want to get to 10 properties. We want to get all this cash flow. And then you get to certain numbers. You're like, well, there's always the next goal to chase, right? So if you can appreciate how far you've come, and just, we always talk about this, but it's not, I think people dangle the carrot of wanting to become a millionaire, right? Like, it's not getting to the status of millionaire. It's who you become on that journey to be worthy of the $1 million. Cause then you can scale it up to 10 million. And that's the same thing with one property, right? That first property completely changed Corey and I's lives. And that's why we like to bring in and talk to guys like you and actually just help you get that first step done. Cause now you prove to yourself you could do it. Like, Jake, you're good now, bro. Like that, our journey together was, let's get Jake to 1. Prove to himself he can do it and juggle it. Now, dude, look how fast you're on to number 2. That's the best part of it. You could, and then the thing is, like, you could stay with us, right? Because we'd love to obviously have you. The best part is there's continual deal flow. We have way more people jumping in, more people to vet questions out from, take down deals together. There's like added bonuses, but I think the real mindset for people is to show them what they're capable of. And then you guys can go flourish. And if you want to go to the next thing, to scale to 20, 30 properties, learn how to raise private capital, do bigger multifamily deals, there's a group for that. Ours is like the power of one. How can we get you to that first deal? And now we just have this great community, man. And Corey and I just want to, without asking you any more questions, really, I just want to thank you for being part of the community. You're awesome. You always are willing to lend a hand, answer questions. And you're one of the reasons why we continue doing this thing. That makes us so happy, because you do what you say you're going to do. You change your life, and you're helping other people change theirs. And you brought one of your friends into the community. He's taking down a very creative deal himself. And it's just so cool, man. So appreciate you being here. Appreciate you sharing your story. And we're excited to help you take down the next one, man.
Yeah, thank you guys. It's been life-changing.
Right. Thanks for bringing that up, man. I think, Jake is the perfect person to come in this community and see success in such a short period of time. And I just want to give one more kudos to him, because, you think that the entrepreneurial life cycle is you think you're behind. And that's what everyone, you just think, oh, there's people that are doing better than me. There's people that are ahead of me. And I know Jake, he's over there nodding his head. You always think you're behind. But to give you an idea, as of 2018, 6.7% of individual tax filers had a rental property. That's everyone. The percentage of people under the age of 27 that have a rental property is 2%. So you're in the 98th percentile of people building wealth in terms of the real estate game. You got started before 27. I don't even know if you are 27 yet. I think you're around that age. But I just want to give you that frame of mind. If you're listening, I don't care if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. If you're listening, only 7% of people are able to own rental properties. So for you to even take that step and feel like you can do it, maybe you just need that extra push. And I feel like Jake is living proof. And I just want to thank you for coming on. I think this was, it's refreshing. And you're doing the things that you said you're going to do, and we're going to help you get to the next level as well, man. So thank you for taking the time today. It's been awesome. It's been awesome to get to know you. I consider you a friend, and I just cannot wait to see what's next for you, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely, man. So anyone that heard this episode, if you would like to be the next Jake, you're not going to be exactly like Jake, but if you would like to be similar to Jake and expedite that journey, and you might feel stuck, and you're running through the numbers, you're overanalyzing, you are semi-confident in what you're doing, and you just want to get to the next level. You have some cash set aside and you want to get that first deal done, but maybe you're bogged down by family, maybe you're bogged down by the W-2, whatever it is, we have the solution and we have the people to get you there, and we can expedite the process for you. So drop us a DM on Instagram. Just let us know that you heard Jake's episode and that you were inspired by it. And Corey and I are the ones in the DM, so we will respond to you. We can hop on a call and chat and just see if we're a right fit to work together. And, overall, this is why we do what we do, and to show people what's possible. I remember our journey going through this process, and we felt at this impasse, at this wall, and we didn't know what to do. And we had to get ourselves around a mentor and around someone that had done what we were looking to do. That's the only reason we were able to take things down. Someone that had the contacts, and then we had to show up weekly and give him feedback and say, hey, here's where we're at. And we were held accountable. So I think accountability is number one, and then actually doing what you say you're going to do. So Jake, kudos to you. Everybody, thanks for listening. And we will see you next week.